Professor, why don't you take it away from there? What led to this comment here?
Well, I couldn't use the same words, obviously, so this is how I had to respond. I think it's quite clear, and I think you know this better than I. You're a better analyst and expert than I am. I think it's clear what's going to happen if Trump escalates. The Iranians are going to escalate. In fact, I believe personally, and I can't say this for certain, but I think that the Iranians fired those missiles to force the Americans uh, to how should I put it, re-engage, to restart the hot war, because the United States is engaged in war with Iran. We don't have a ceasefire, and the siege on Iranian ports is warfare, and it's targeting ordinary Iranians. So the Iranians, I think, they want to continue to put pressure on Trump for a host of reasons. One is that it drives up the price of oil and energy, and it rings alarm bells across the world. That puts pressure on Trump. Another is that the United States is allegedly running out of certain types of munitions, even though Iran is not counting on this, because there's always a chance that the United States is hiding certain capabilities from the Iranians. But in any case, Iran wants to run down their interceptors and missiles. And third, I think that, and this again, I'm speculating. I really don't know if this is. I don't think there's a consensus in Iran on anything, because there are many different people who are involved in the decision-making process. So I can't say everyone is saying the same thing. But I think that in general, the Iranians know that the midterms are approaching, but also in the Israeli regime, shortly before the U.S. midterms, there are also elections among the Zionists for the new government, and the Iranians believe that this will hurt Trump, and it will also hurt Netanyahu.
And when you're talking about, one of the things that's been worrying me from the American perspective from a long time is that warfare is not just what happens on the battlefield, but it's political, it's diplomatic, it's economic, and it's military, and all those things are at play. And there's not many people in the U.S. that realize all of those are swirling around at one time. And it seems the Iranian side seems a little bit more on it, because what you said there a second ago would seem counterintuitive, that you want to spawn the U.S. to get back into this strike. Now, there's more to it than what some may recognize, and I'll tell you my thoughts on it. You tell me if this is what you seeing on the other side or not. But last weekend, there was supposed to have been this big strike that was supposed to go on, this big, huge punishing strike, et cetera. But then President Trump called it off, apparently on either Saturday night or Sunday morning, because, as was published in the media, the vice president and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff convinced him that our stockpiles especially of our key offensive and defensive missiles, are so low that if we went in with a big strike, it wouldn't change the dynamics on the ground. It would not take control of the Strait of Hormuz back from Iran, but it would further diminish our capabilities. And so they basically just didn't do it. But then that kind of left us, well, now what? It sounds to me like Iran was like, no, it's okay for y'all to do that because we want you to get rid of the remainder of your missiles here, because here's the situation, and this is what I'm worried about. If we fall for this and we get back in and Trump does what he's talking about here and we go back to full-scale war and we just start throwing all these missiles down range, it's not going to be too many more days or weeks possibly to where we now are just relying on some of our older and less capable stuff like the JDAMs, like the small diameter bombs, et cetera, because we're not going to have these longer ones. And our air defense is going to be even less capable than it has been so far. And it seems to me that Iran can suffer and suck down a lot of these missiles because they're going to hit some things and they're going to cause damage and kill people, no doubt. But if we run out of the good stuff, then apparently the Iranian side does have more good stuff remaining. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think that's a very accurate assessment. And I saw your monologue on this issue, and I agree with it completely. And I think people should watch it. My belief, again, I can't swear to it being the Iranian position. I don't have that sort of access or authority. But I do think that the Iranians believe that the best way to bring an end to the war is for Trump to be defeated. And rather than this going on and on for many months and being drawn out, the Iranians would like to end this sooner. That's why when the war began 5 months ago, over 5 months ago now, the Iranians wanted Trump to carry out a land offensive. And during those 40 days of fighting, when I would speak to people who were pretty much somewhat well informed about the situation, they were keen on a land offensive, not because they want more people to die, but because they thought that a land offensive would be catastrophic for the United States. People would die, Iranians would die, but that it would shorten the war. It would bring about a defeat where Trump would have to back off. And what the Iranian objective has been from the beginning is to have this war end in a way where no one ever again thinks about attacking Iran. That's basically what they want. So right now, the Iranians are thinking, in my opinion, that we don't want the Americans to sit back and rearm themselves or bring in a few more missiles and then 2 weeks from now start it up again for a few days. And then we want this to play out as much as possible. And at the moment, since, in my opinion, the energy crisis is growing very fast, even though they're manipulating the price and the price is low. But again, you had another guest a few weeks ago who discussed this, and I think what he was saying, I don't remember his name, but I think what he was saying is more or less valid. I think we're approaching that turning point, and after a certain period of time, manipulation doesn't work. I mean, if my glass of water here, which I mean, not a glass of water, but if my paper cup here, if it's finished, if there's no water in it, then there's no more water. I mean, I can't pretend anymore. And that is where things are going, especially since now the Red Sea is closed to Saudi Arabia, and the Yemenis are striking Saudi Arabian assets. The speed in which this shortage is growing, the global shortage, is quickening. And we already had like 4.5 months of shortages accumulating. And now I think the pace is going to increase, and that's what the Iranians want. The Iranians want to push Trump to the brink. Iran doesn't want to collapse of the global economy. That's not the objective. The objective is to force Trump to back off. And so they are pushing and pushing so that he reaches that point. And he admitted it basically after he signed the MOU, saying that we only have 4 more weeks of reserves. They don't want to be a president, Herbert Hoover and the 1930s and all that. So that's basically what the Iranians want to push him towards, to recognize that if he keeps going, then he's going to, the global economy is going to go off a cliff.